It's December, and if you're looking for an emerging small cap stock that is literally shattering the performance metrics of an old conventional industry, then you're going to love this interview with HPQ Silicon. Why? Silicon metal manufacturing is the largest emitter of CO2 on a per ton basis on the planet. HPQ Silicon is on the verge of shattering the manufacturing process for fumed silica, which is used in cosmetics, toothpaste, powdered foods, and so many other products, but needs to burn silicon in the process. How disruptive is the HPQ silicon process? The reductions in greenhouse gases, energy consumption, the elimination of hydrogen chloride gas led the company to sign a letter of intent with the Ionic Corporation, a $10 billion company and the inventor of fumed silica, earlier this year. And today, what we're talking about is HPQ Silica Pulver Fumed Silica Reactor project update. In other words, it's an update. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
A lot of nice reaction to this news. People are feeling, shareholders feel like they're feeling something getting closer and closer. And I think this is the excerpt that got them excited. Quote, "We continue ongoing discussions to secure offtake agreements." Does this reflect confidence that the pilot plant, the samples, shipping, all that's going to be successful? Is that what people should be reading into that? Because that's sure seems what it feels like.
No, that's exactly what we feel, what we believe. We actually, strongly believe that we will replicate without any big issues outside of R&D, but within the big issues, what we've done at lab scale, and on a much bigger piece of equipment that can deliver kilogram per hour sized capacity. So we feel very confident we're going to get there. We understand what it is. We're just taking the time required to do it well. So no, I have no doubt that we're going to have a offtakes agreement, once we validated the concept. So we're just at that cusp moment where we're almost there. It's like, before my wife gave birth, we were not parents, and after she gave birth, we were parents. So we're just in that position. Now, where exactly is the baby ready to go? Do we need a C-section? I'm sort of exaggerating, but you understand the concept.
Yeah.
The concept is,
are we pacing in the hospital room?
Oh, trust me,
room?
we are pacing, and there's Uncle Ionic pacing right next to me. Okay.
That is a great analogy. And Uncle Ionic is optimistic, can't wait. Is that how's Uncle Ionic feeling?
They fully understand that if we make it, okay, and we will make it, okay. Now, this is why it's so binary. It's like when we make it should be the better sentence. Then the races really start with regard to finalizing something much more concrete. As I've said before, they'd be pretty willing and able to start now to do those type of discussion, and we prefer to wait until we got the pilot plant working. And when I say we, it's Pyrogenesis and us, because we're sort of partner in this regard. So that's really more a question of business philosophy, of waiting till until we will have a bigger negotiation position to get the best deal for us. That's really where it is. But I understand the frustration with everybody. Trust me, I live the same frustration. But I understand also that's what we have to do.
I think it's more just that everyone's waiting for the baby, to keep using the analogy, right? It's like everyone's, hey, is the baby coming? I think it's more that kind of nervous excitement. I guess that would be a better way to say it than frustration. So
yeah, it's more nervous about the timeline as opposed to nervousness about the fact that it's going to happen. Like we know the machine is going to work. We feel very comfortable we're going to make fumed silica. We don't foresee any reason for any negativity over this, other than R&D takes time, and timelines are shitty in R&D.
Can you elaborate maybe a little bit? You've alluded a little bit. When do you think samples will actually be ready to ship to Ionic? When they're going to be shipped?
I actually, from the information I have, I know that we're going to have some sample materials during December. Okay, and if it follows the same routine that it did when we did at pilot scale, at lab scale, okay, The first material might just, the first material, we have no expectation the first material is going to be great. That's something I've learned from the QRR type of things. But the only thing I want is for the first material to be as good as the first material we did at lab scale. Then that's because we know once we got this, we know exactly the path to go do it. And there's no reason for us not to do this. Okay, there's really no reason for that not to happen. So those, that's exactly how it started with all the concept at lab scale when we did it, and it ended up with us presenting a material that meet Evonic's quality. So I have to understand, we're replicating what we've already done, just at a larger scale, okay? And if you allow me, like we explain a bit in the press release, okay? We say the FSR pilot plant represents a pioneer state-of-the-art prototype system, meticulously designed for a seamless integration of subsystem. The subsystem operates in synchronization to enable the production of fumed silica within the reactor, okay? Ensuring controlled transfer to downstream recovery and optimizing extraction. All right. At lab scale, the only thing we had to do was make the fumed silica in the reactor. Okay. So that part we're not really worried about. It's the two other parts we're working on that we're sure it's going to work because it's not rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel, but we have to do it the first time around. So, having fumed silica of good quality at the end of the reactor, not an issue for us. It's to make sure we have it in the packaging department where we end up packing and shipping it, because that's what makes it commercial. Now, that is 100% normal, expected, nothing out of the ordinary. But until it's, and this is where we are. We have steps to do. We got here and we're there. So December is it.
It sounds like you just didn't want to sacrifice quality for speed. So it sounds like, and again, I'm going to ask you to elaborate, but it sounds like, hey guys, if we want to move this really fast and get samples to Evonik, it sounds like you could have already done it or accelerated that. It sounds like, though, what you want to do is make sure, hey, I'm not going to sacrifice quality for speed. We want to get the first samples exactly as we did. So
yeah,
is that accurate?
Yes and no. It's just because the system is bigger. Okay, it's not designed like the first one where you basically did it and you did. Remember, the first system did a few grams. Okay, now we're talking about doing kilograms. So it wasn't the same thing. We just plucked it in from the reactor and got it to move. But doing the next step, there's nothing really extraordinary R&D. It's just doing the right implementation, making sure that you're doing your list. You check it twice. That's just what it is. Going fast to do like many other junior companies, okay, that had their heyday of going through the roof, and then after that they can't follow up on the delivery is not the issue. I'm not even worried that we're going to do the material. I want to make sure we can do it repetitively, consistently, and a high quality of material. That's what our focus is.
And it sounds like you're not concerned about it. You just want to get it right. Yeah. That's it. It's not like you're saying, George, we want to focus on this, but we don't know if we're going to get there. It sounds like no. Look, Pyrogenesis advised. I'm just reading right. So the first series of process material tests are scheduled to start in December, like you're saying. So it sounds like everyone's on board. You guys are all on the same page.
Yeah, and we basically up and achieving. What do we say? Following successful completion, the program will commence manufacturing kilograms of fumed silica. Remember, pilot plant was barely capable of laboratory equipment, only a few grams of fumed silica. So you understand the size of the scale up, and that's the entire reason why it's taking us. It seemed, I will let you say, it seems like it's taking us longer. I know that Peter used to have a saying, slow is fast and fast is good, or whatever, like another Bernieism.
Another Bernieism.
Another Bernieism. But you understand what I'm saying?
Right there.
And I fully understand the frustration this brings to investors, because I have the same frustration. I am also an investor. But I look at the big picture. I look at where HPQ is right now in December 2024. Okay, compared to where we were in 2023, it's not the same company.
Anyway, what Peter would say, and I think it was made famous by the movie Shooter by Mark Wahlberg, slow is smooth, but smooth is fast. So in other words, going slower,
that's the one.
Going slower actually ends up being faster rather than just being reckless and trying to go as fast as you can and tripping and falling and all that. So slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You also threw this nice little tidbit I noticed, just a little crumb,
What?
where you say additional evaluations may also be conducted by other parties under NDA.
Yeah,
You
but
want to,
that tidbit has been there since the beginning. I've always
yeah,
put it in
but
every
when
one
I
of my press
see it
releases.
again, it sounds, and when you mention
Oh,
right after we continue ongoing discussions to secure offtake agreements, what is the level of interest beyond Uncle Ionic? And we know that Ionic is, you know, the girl you brought to the dance and all that. So no one's trying to shy away from Ionic. But I'm just curious, what is the level of interest out there with other parties that are under NDA? Do they see the same thing? Do you still have that
um,
industry lead? Are they, is that the viewpoint of HPQ?
well, first of all, there's nobody else rethinking the how to manufacture fumed silica other than I think using corn husks. Okay, so I'm not that worried about our leadership position in that technology. I'm really not worried. As for the other one, it's going to be the same thing. You know, Evonik wanted to make sure that they were the first one to come to the dance, but you know, once we reach those steps, everybody's going to come in. So it's not for me. It's not an issue. Like they'll be more than one. Like I got a call from somebody who says, you know, I need this amount of this type of material, and you know, could you start supplying us, and we can take a look at working together. It says, okay, sure. So you do understand, like once we, this is why it's a very binary type of situation. Once we start making it, then the interest and the pressure to close a deal from the other part is going to go rack it up multiple notches. At this moment, it's a game of chicken. And if HPQ
Would you
was,
say a game of chicken, or say more just a case of negotiation? You know,
well, yeah, but in
it's a
negotiation,
Japanese negotiation. No
game.
one's talking. You're not talking first. Yeah,
Yeah, it is and that's a key point. But and if HPQ, okay, only had the fumed silica reactor as an asset it was developing, like I was there to say 90% of other junior companies are, they only have either one great properties or one thing
yeah.
issue. I would understand the overbearing negativity that can come up because we're taking our the time to do things right. But HPQ is much more than that. Like in the last six months, we've announced battery results that are phenomenal. Okay, and it's maybe not be translating into shareholder valuation move, but it's definitely being translated in interest from multiple players in the industry. Okay, and you know, like with Evonik, it took me what 7 months to get to the LOI. I'm about the same timeline with the other materials I'm coming, so I can come up with MOUs and those type of things coming around for the battery areas. For the hydrogen, we've announced that, you know, we got the French military interested and they're going to finance the building of the first prototype. So HPQ is more than just a fumed silica reactor. But the fumed silica reactor will be the biggest, is the closest catalyst to something commercial. That part I understand.
And is that what gives you the confidence, the patience to wait a little longer before you secure offtake agreements, knowing that you're not a one-trick pony, that you've got four legs with three that are really running, right?
Mm.
You've got obviously the fumed silica, the silicon anodes, and now with what's happened with the hydrogen the other just last week or a few days ago, whatever it was. Is that what gives you the confidence, Bernard, where you guys as a company can say, hey, we don't have to rush into something? Because if you were just a one-trick pony, you'd probably be much more likely to say, let's nail something down. You know, we need to nail something down and secure this company and make sure our partners don't go away. But is that what gives you that great confidence?
Yes, but it also makes me sure if you're in that position, okay, the deal wouldn't secure your actually be much more dangerous. Okay,
Yeah, that's true. You'd be a lot weaker.
so Yeah, it'll be a lot of work. We're not like, we may look on certain aspects like we're not weak with everything that we have, with the discussion I'm having with all the different parties. As they come to fruition, people will see comes into it. But I understand that, let's be realistic. I would have liked the fume silica to have started a few months earlier, but didn't. There's nothing I can
Well,
change about
everybody
it.
would.
Yeah,
That's of course, right? Who
that's of
who wouldn't
course.
at the end of the day? But
But
when companies remember, when investors look back, and again, I'm not making an analogy that you're Apple, but it's just I want to use an obvious example everyone can relate to. When
Mhm.
investors look back on when Apple launched the iPhone, for example, or the sorry, what was the little music box? It says I don't know
The
why it
iPod,
amazed me, but
the iPod.
iPod, right? iPod, and then iPad and things like that, and see how much they've penetrated our lives. No one
Mhm.
thinks back and says, "Well, it would have been great if the iPad had just been launched 6 months earlier."
Mhm.
Right? Nobody thinks that way. So as much as we love it, if everything was wrapped up right now and had been done a couple months ago, I think
Mhm.
everyone can understand. And you've done a great job of explaining the process, the steps, what it takes, and why, and even the rationale. So
Mhm.
let me. You kind of alluded to something I was going to ask you,
Mhm.
which is, look, it's December 5th,
Mhm.
and I got a feeling I'm probably going to have you back because we know that you're the first set of materials is scheduled to start in December. You've said that in the press release, and you've repeated that here. So I'm assuming there's going to be a press release about that, and we're going to be back. But I don't want to take for granted. So I want to ask you just that comprehensive question, which is, here we are, December 5th, 2024.
Mhm.
How how confident, how happy are you with the delta in HPQ silicon that's taking place in 2024 versus where you were in 2023 and where you were in 2022? How happy are you, and how happy or how confident should your shareholders be, given the fact that you now have three legs of the company that are approaching, seems like realistic commercialization events uh,
Mhm.
between now and the short term, midterm outlook for 2025.
Well, we've been executing a sort of a transition from, at one point we were an exclusive company in the sense that we were sort of like selling, marketing, developing pyrogenesis-based technology. So 100% of our business was associated with one technology supplier. Okay. And what I'm happy we've been able to accomplish is, as we move the fumed silica reactor to commercialization stage, we've also been able to basically double our footprint of HPQ unique um, technology solutions that we're bringing to the market. Uh, so if you look at it, the silicone anode battery materials is HPQ Novation, which is sort of HPQ. The hydrogen one is Novation with HPQ involved into it. But those are truly independent from it. So we've sort of de-risked ourselves from being 100% dependent on pyrogenesis uh, growth or strategy, and where they're going. And that was part of the game plan to do, but that doesn't happen overnight. Like when we entered the SiOX material for batteries, we had a general idea that we could do something good, but now we've done it. We've announced something pretty mind-numbing, 500 cycle, and this has approached large graphite companies that want to come into it because they're starting to cue in to the fact that, hey, we're not a competitor. Okay. We're not competing to replace their material in battery space. We're just going to make it better. We're just making it better. Okay. And that's a shift that's happening. That's also a shift from battery manufacturers, which at the beginning had a preconceived idea that you can get an SiOX based material above 5% in a battery, and because after 150 cycles, the material died. We got to 500 cycles, and we're on our way moving forward. So we got this, and the hydrogen technology, we're dealing with the biggest constraint of using hydrogen everywhere in the world. Like there's even one person that keeps liking to bring every, negative issue with hydrogen solution, and it's all centered around the same thing. You manufacture at one point, you have to use it at a second point, and the transportation cost kills you. So everybody talks about,
Storage.
yeah, everybody talks about the cost of manufacturing hydrogen, how we got this great electrolyzer that can do it much cheaper. Okay. The end user doesn't give a royal about it. He wants to know what's going to be the cost of the hydrogen delivered to me.
Yeah, George Calm Hydrogen can produce hydrogen really cheaply.
Mhm.
That doesn't solve the problem that I've not been able to solve: transportation, logistics, storage, danger, and all those issues. So by the time it gets to Bernard Inc., it's a
Mhm.
totally different. My cost advantage of production that I'm trying to sing the praise about aren't really all that relevant if I can't solve those intermediary issues. Whereas what you're saying is
Mhm.
you've completely wiped out those, or almost wiped out those intermediary issues, which makes you a paradigm shift in
Well,
hydrogen
it makes
tech.
it, it makes us a paradigm shift. It gives us an all new market. I'm going to tell you how much the interest is. We issued that press release, and I think 12 hours later, I was invited to make a conference at a pretty prestigious event for Quebec-based hydrogen companies. There's a lot of them, and I've been asked to make a 10-minute presentation about the metagen. So you remember, we were not in that hydrogen club before. Suddenly, we are. I think that's not yet, fully reflected and fully priced into the market. Same
No,
thing
no.
for silicone material for batteries. I think there's an overemphasis on the fumed silica and underemphasis of the other, which is great because that means that as the other project moves along, it can only go, it can only get better for the company.
And de-risking from pyrogenesis or a single technology partner provider is nothing against pyrogenesis or anything like that.
Hmm.
But if you don't want to be wholly reliant on McDonald's, if they're your customer, because if they change their mind, if a new CEO comes in, something happens, you're beholden, and your entire business could come down on you. So I like the fact that you're saying
Listen,
that
we have a,
you're,
we have a very good relationship with Pyro. Like,
of
Pyro,
course,
without Pyro, we wouldn't be here. But the
of course.
fact is, I have to be consistent to realize that Pyro is also developing a multiple stool type of situation. And it's fine with me. With the fume silica, we have something great working together, which we're going to be developing it. They have other interests. We also have some hydrogen technology that we're developing that can be complementary to what they're doing. That's nothing to do with what we've announced, but something else that we're working on. So there's always going to be synergy on those two things. But as a company, I think it is wiser to, instead of having one technology supplier that represents, so that represents 100% risk. Okay. We now have at least 3 projects, so that becomes a third. So the risk has been cut by 2/3. And I don't think people have reflected and understand that. I think they overly emphasize the pyrogenesis because they overly focus on the fumed silica reactor, but they're not realizing, the other technology, which is fine. It's a question of communication. It's my work to come out and talk about it more. And we have events that are upcoming that are going to start to make that more clear.
And by the way, you're not unique to that. There are major corporations out there, Fortune 1000, maybe not Fortune 500, but Fortune 1000, Fortune 2000 companies that have your kind of scenario,
Mhm.
and they don't receive full value. So what do? They spin them off
Mhm.
for exactly that reason, right? They actually spin off divisions because they're big enough. So,
Well,
and
actually,
we'll get into that discussion another time, but I can see that happening if fume
well,
silica's
actually,
through,
silica pulveris is designed for that. Is physically, it was structured like that from the beginning. HPQ Silica Pulveris is a standalone company. Okay, we in our financial statement we basically combined them, but it's a standalone company, so it wouldn't be a big issue for us. It's very easy to 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 envisage a scenario where a third party interested in developing the technology will come and make an investment that will value that company probably substantially higher than the value of the entire HPQ company is, because that's the way it is when I stand. And then there's a pathway to get that moving forward.
Well, I
So
gotta admit, if I was one of these companies that's not on the fume silica side, if I was on one of the other, and
mhm,
I want to make an investment,
mhm,
I would probably say, hey, uh, good on you for your fume silica and one of the other two
mhm,
legs, but I'm only interested in
yeah.
the silicon anode tech, or I'm only interested in the hydrogen tech. So I don't want to make an investment into your basket of everything. I don't know those businesses. So
Yeah,
if we make an investment, let's spin this out. I want this to be independent of those. I
yeah.
think you're probably going to have to come to that situation at some point. But anyways, we'll have that
But,
discussion another point.
we structure ourselves for that situation.
Yeah. So conclusion. How
Yes.
happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And I know you're always low key, which is great. So you're not a big pom cheerleader, but it just seems like throughout the year, and I think people can read the body language, hear your voice. That just seems like you're a lot more confident, calmer, uh, secure about everything you're doing, about the status of HPQ. But you tell us. That's just, I don't want to put words in your mouth. How do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about what HPQ has advanced to here in December 5th, 2024?
With regard to advancement, I would say like 8 or 9 in regard to advancement. But where the company is right now, I would say more of a 5, because I really feel that the glass is half full with regard to people realization of what we've accomplished during the year. And I think, some people put an overly negative emphasis on a few things without looking at the big picture. And the big picture is HPQ now is a much stronger corporation than it ever was. Okay, when we had a value, when we traded at much significantly prices, and we were fully dependent on one technology that had to work, and that one did not work. So, and it didn't work for no big reason. It's called R&D. There's millions of dollars being done for people trying to do nanoparticles for silicone. And in the last 3 weeks, I've gotten approached by merchant banker that have been given mandate to basically see if they can sell those companies that were in that field of nanomaterials. Seriously, I got 2 of them that approached me. So what does that tell you? That tells you that our decision to not focus on the nanomaterial and work to the SiOX was the right one. So that's why I feel very confident where we're moving forward. We're on the right track. So it's sort of like it's a mixed reaction. As an operating company, where we are, where we're going, what I'm seeing, fully excited. As the other arm, as an investor in HPQ, I'm a bit unsatisfied, and I'm going to try to figure ways to get that moving forward.
Well, that part is out of your hands. What all you can do is deliver
Yeah.
1, 2, and/or 3 operating divisions. Then the market's going to take care of itself at some point. Unfortunately, you don't have none of us have the magic wand. Otherwise, we'd be
Nope.
perpetually happy. But congratulations, Bernard. It sounds like when you say it's an 8 or 9 out of 10, and I've got to agree. Now it's just a case of closing out a couple things. The You're outside the waiting room. You're pacing with Uncle Ionic on the first baby. So I think a lot of us can see the reveal coming. So I'm probably going to have you back. All right. So I'm not going to say goodbye for the year, but I'm just waiting for that phone call to come in and say, George, press release is coming. I need you tomorrow, or whatever the case is. So thanks for today. Nice update. Great update. As always, Bernard. And for everyone at home, thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
Hey small cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agoracom? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agora.com small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.